Hello, and thank you for joining me for today's practice. So, we are going to focus on shoulders and arms today and releasing tension from the shoulders and arms in our little mini practice today. And I'd like to utilize the conscious movement technique that I've been exploring and doing a lot with lately, and finding that it's really effective in helping release tension from specific areas of the body. So, I'd like to take a moment, though, to review what I mean by conscious movement. Typically, when we do any kind of stretching or even in our yoga practices, we have a tendency to go to the fullest degree of stretch. We have this kind of need almost to feel our stretch at its most. We like to feel the intensity of stretch. And typically with yoga practice, we will often, as teachers, cue the student to go to the first place of resistance, to not look for that intense stretch, but to look for that first sensation and let the body take us deeper into any further stretch or further release, if if the body is ready to go there. But with conscious movement, you're actually taking it even a step further, or I should say, you're actually holding back even a little bit more, to be more accurate. And I'm going to use this t-shirt to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. So often, what we do when we stretch, if this is our muscle, if this t-shirt is just the muscle fibers, when we stretch, we are often going into that full intense sensation. And you can see the fibers, you can kind of see the stripes on this t-shirt, the lines on this t-shirt stretching to the max. And that's, think of our muscle going to the furthest degree of stretch, right? But when we do conscious movement, we're actually going so slowly, and that's why it's so important to go super slow. We're going so slowly that we can actually feel when the fibers give us our first sensation, when the tissue, the connective tissue, offers us the first sensation of resistance or tension. And you might see that, and I barely move this, but the lines of this t-shirt are stretching. And so that's where we're going to stop before we decide to go a little bit further and then go a little bit more. And then maybe we go a little bit further if the body loosens up and allows us to go further. So it may be a while before we get to that full stretch that initially, or that typically we may be used to doing, where we just blow past all the nuanced steps and just go to that full intensity of sensation. So here's another look at the t-shirt and the example of stretch that we're going for. So when we stretch too far too quickly, you can see the lines of the shirt stretching to the furthest extent. And with conscious movement, we're actually going to that first place of resistance. You see the lines just lengthening, stretching a little bit, and then maybe we do a little more, and then maybe we do a little more. And it takes a little bit of time before we actually make it to our furthest extent of stretch, if we even get there in that particular attempt. So that's the key difference. So hopefully that made it a little bit more clear as to what we're looking for when we're doing our conscious movement. We're really focusing on those nuance, those subtle sensations of resistance, of stretch, of maybe even discomfort. And that's where we pause, we breathe. The steps exactly are to find those nuanced sensations, to set your attention to those areas, to then set an intention of what we want to achieve. So that would be ease, release, softening, whatever it might make sense to you for that part of the body. And then breathing. Of course, we're breathing all through this, but really making a conscious effort to breathe deeply and smoothly into those areas. So those are the basic steps, and hopefully when using this t-shirt, it helped to illustrate what we mean by going to that first sensation as opposed to kind of blowing past all those little nuanced areas of resistance or tension, and not really looking for that full intense stretch. So I hope that little review was helpful, and let's get into our practice. Okay, so let's begin in a nice mountain pose, and we'll bring those heels under the hip centers. Perhaps you might want to go a little wider if you feel more balanced that way. And I just like to kind of do a little undulation, just rocking forward and back in order to feel the grounding under my feet. The other little trick I like is to lift my toes, and I feel the weight pressing on the edges of my feet, especially what I like to call those tripod points, the base of the big toes, the base of the pinky toes, and right there at the back of the heels. So once you feel nicely grounded through the feet, take a few big breaths in and out. You might even sigh out or sound out on the exhale. And as you take two more nice big breaths like that, in and out, just feel your weight settling down through the legs, through the feet. So you really feel settled. You feel grounded into your lower body, into the mat, into the earth. And once you've completed your third one, let's begin to loosen up the shoulders, which the shoulders and arms being our focus for today. We'll begin with some nice rotations, and we're going to use some nice, slow, mindful movement here to do our rotations, breathing, and just kind of letting the shoulders open up gradually. And after a few times in one direction, we're going to do a few times in the other direction. And just start noticing where you might feel some restriction, some unease, some tension, some discomfort, if there's any today. And then after a few times in the other direction, just kind of shake them out, shake out those arms as well. And we'll do another kind of warm up or loosening movement, which is going to be more of a forward back movement through the collarbones and the shoulder blades. So when you inhale, let's squeeze the shoulder blades together, and it kind of opens up through the top of the chest here. And on the exhale, squeeze the collarbones together. Shoulders come forward, and you're opening up through the upper back. So we're going to do this again, nice, slow, mindful movement. And we're going to revisit these two movements again after just a few more of this particular kind of movement. We're going to revisit them using our conscious movement. And just to recap, let's do one more here first, and then come back to center, shake it out. To recap what conscious movement is, it's moving very slowly, super slow movement, and that enables us to really pay attention to the sensations in our body, really picking up on the nuanced sensations. And so we move so slowly that as soon as we recognize a first place of resistance, that nuanced tension or pull or stretch or whatever you want to call it, restriction, we pause, we set our intention into that area, and we set an intention of ease or softening or release. And then we take a breath to cause or coax that ease, that softening, the release that we're using or setting our intention to. So let's do those same movements, but we're going to do them using this conscious movement this time around. So we'll start off with the rotation. So very slowly, super slow, bringing those shoulders forward. And if you notice tension, which I'm noticing right away, I'm just going to pause, bring awareness to the tension, set an intention of ease, and take a deep breath. And then I'm going to continue. And then when I hit that next place of resistance, wherever that might be, same thing, attention, intention, breathe. So go at your own pace, nice and slow in this conscious movement. Let's do two rotations. So maybe after the first one, you might find that you don't feel as much restriction and you might be able to just flow through it. Or maybe you need to stop again and breathe with intention. And when you finish that second one, shake it out, pause for a moment. We'll go in the opposite direction now. So Super slow in the opposite direction. Noticing the restriction, the tension. I'm already, after that first round, I'm already feeling a lot more open and fluid in my movement. So again, do it twice. You listen to your body. You may need to stop and pause depending on that nuanced sensation where you're feeling, and using intention and breath, let it go. So the next time you come back down, and we'll shake it out once again. Awesome. So now we'll do the same type of application to the forward backward movement that we did with the shoulder blades and the collarbones. So nice breath in and super slow, squeezing the shoulder blades back, and just notice where you feel, again, that restriction, that tension, that stretch. Pause. Take your awareness wherever you feel it. Set your intention for softening, for relaxing, for release. Breathe into that. And then super slow in the other direction. Typically, I find with this movement, it's at the ends that I need to do my breath with the intention, because that's where I feel my restriction. Now, you may feel restriction or tension or pull somewhere in between, maybe before you get to the end of the movement, whatever that may be for you. And now as you're doing this, keep your hands and your arms as relaxed as possible. And after you do 2 of these, bring it back to center once again. And again, shake it out. Give it a shake. Awesome. So regrounding. I always like to move my legs a little in between too, so my legs don't get tired of being in that constant steady position. But then make sure we always reground again before we start the next movement. So the next movement we're going to do for arms and shoulders is what I call the clock movement. And again, this time we are going to still use that conscious movement. So super slow. And I'm actually going to guide you through the arm movement to each position. And the reason it's called the clock movement is because we'll imagine that we're moving our arm as if the arm is a clock arm. And you'll see what I mean as we get started here. So let's come into our mountain pose again, and we'll start with the right arm. So your right arm will move, and with the arm straight down like this, that will be 6 o'clock. So if you think of a clock, you can imagine that if this is 6 o'clock, this is 12 o'clock. So I'll lead you through each of the uh, hours of the clock, so to speak, as we go into our rotation through the arms. Now, you may have the other arm. So since we're going to move the right arm first, your left arm could just be hanging comfortably. I sometimes like to just have it resting right at the lower back, very softly. And this just helps me keep my left shoulder open and helps me stay in a nicer postural alignment, because I have the tendency to let my shoulders roll forward. So this may be helpful to you as well if you want to try that as well. So let's begin in our 6 o'clock with our right arm. And then very slowly, that conscious movement, and we're going to go to 5 o'clock. So once you're at 5 o'clock, take a nice big breath. Bring your awareness to that shoulder. And then on the exhale, lengthen. Feel as if there's little butterflies or fairies or whatever you want to think of, angels pulling at your fingertips, lengthening the arm. And imagine the arm is growing from the shoulder. And you're not actually moving. We're not moving forward, right? We're staying in that nice, strong, stable mountain pose, but it feels like there's some length happening at the shoulder. And as you lengthen there at 5 o'clock, take another big breath as you lengthen the arm. Notice any tension. Bring your awareness there, your attention, and then set an intention for release or softening. Awesome. After a couple breaths, we'll go to 4 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock, same thing. Feel like there's lengthening. Take a couple of nice, big, smooth breaths with intention, sending that intention into the spaces that you feel your resistance, your stretch, your maybe even discomfort. And then we'll go to 3 o'clock. And lengthening the arm as if it's being gently tractioned forward. Breathe, ease. And then we'll go to 2 o'clock. Lengthening, feeling the nuanced sensation through the arm, through the shoulder, wherever you might be feeling it. Going to 1 o'clock. Always the same steps, right? It's not really rocket science. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. We mindfully, consciously move to the position where we feel our resistance. We set our attention in the area of resistance. We then set an intention for ease, release, softening, whatever makes sense to us. And then we take that big breath, and we might take 1 or 2 big breaths. And then finally, we're going to get to 12 o'clock. As you roll your shoulder back, externally rotating it, your elbow might be bent, and that's okay. But the palm is facing toward the head. Elbow is kind of pulling outward, so your shoulder blade, your scapula kind of pulls out, broadens away from the center of your body. Same thing, like someone's lengthening the arm. Breathe. Awesome. As we go to the other side of the clock, we turn the right foot sideways, 90 degrees. We turn the palm away from the head, and we go now to 11 o'clock. So going to 11 o'clock, feel that first place of resistance in your arm. Breathe as you try to lengthen it, bringing awareness there, bringing attention and intention there. Couple breaths, maybe things open up, maybe your arm starts releasing and softening and you're able to lengthen it more. And then slowly bringing it to 10 o'clock. Same thing, feel like it's being lengthened. Attention, intention, breathe. Now going to 9 o'clock. Attention, intention, breathe as you lengthen very gently and gradually. Now going to 8 o'clock. Really mindful practice here. Hopefully discovering a lot of what's going on as we take our time to go through this. 7 o'clock. Gentle lengthening. Bring your attention into the space of tension, intention, being used as we create softening, ease, release through our breath. And then turn that foot back as we turn the body back to 6 o'clock. Take that other arm down if you had it up and just kind of shake it out gently. And I invite you to close your eyes. Just take a moment, a couple of big breaths. Close your eyes and just notice how that right arm, right shoulder feels in comparison to the left. No reason to analyze or judge or go any deeper, but just kind of notice. And you might feel a difference because we haven't done the left arm yet, but now we will. So again, your choice. Right arm can stay dangling at your side, or it can be around the back. Feeling grounded and steady. Starting at 6, take a breath. Feel the gentle release as you lengthen the arm downward. And then we'll go to 5 o'clock. So little angels, fairies, butterflies, hummingbirds, whatever you want to think of, gently pulling at those fingertips. Attention into the area of tension, resistance, using intention of ease, softening, breathing through all of that. Awesome. Now we'll go to 4 o'clock. I was at 4 o'clock already. I probably could have started a little lower, but you'll go to 4 o'clock and we'll again pause there, feel the nuances, attention, intention, breathe. And then we'll go to 3 o'clock, straight out in front. Feeling that lengthening, the growth happening at the shoulder, the lengthening happening at the shoulder, the spaciousness happening at the shoulder, and all through the arm even. Maybe you feel some tingling, some energetic flow, whatever it is, it's okay. The only thing that's not okay is pain. So if you start feeling any kind of acute pain, slowly stop and ease out of it and just maybe pause for a bit before you might try it again. Maybe you've gone too far. Maybe you pulled too hard. Okay, so we spent a little extra time there at 3. Let's go to 2. Lengthening, breathing. Awesome. Let's go to 1. Feel that gentle traction as you pull through those fingertips. Fingertips are active, hands are gently activated. Attention, intention, breathing into resistance. And then gently rolling the shoulder back, externally rotating it. Elbow goes out, palm faces in toward the head. So again, you might have bent elbow. That's okay. It's because we're actually trying to pull through the elbow as well as the fingertips here. Bring awareness. Just be mindful you're not shrugging. We don't want to pull that shoulder up. The shoulder stays nicely settled in its socket. We're lengthening from the elbow and the hand. Awesome. Then we take that left foot out 90 degrees, turn the palm away from your head, go to 11 o'clock. Lengthen, set attention, set intention, breathe. Now I'm holding these for a few breaths. If for some reason this is too long for you, you can just do one breath in each spot. And that may be a nice way to do this if you're short of time as well. If you just want to do this kind of quickly because you have, a 5-minute break or something like that. So let's go to 10 o'clock if you haven't already gotten there. So I'm just kind of doing an extended version by taking some extra breaths. And that could be something you work into as well. If you've got any kind of shoulder stuff going on, 2 to 3 breaths or 4 breaths may be too much. And maybe 1 breath is where you start with each position. Going to 9 o'clock, feel that lengthening, that tractioning. Set your attention, your intention, breathe. Going to 8 o'clock. Really focusing inward. That's what this really slow conscious movement forces us to do. And if the mind wanders, because we're not as active with the mind necessarily, we're more inward focused, which sometimes is harder to do. Just bring it back whenever you notice your mind wandering. 7 o'clock. Lengthen gently. Attention, intention, and breathe. And then finally, turning the foot, turning the body, coming back to 6 o'clock. Shake those arms out once again. Shake those legs out maybe. Resettle, reground, close those eyes. Take a couple of big breaths. Just notice if you feel hopefully a little more balanced now that both arms have gone through the sequence. And just allow yourself to stand in mountain pose, noticing your balance, noticing the energy flowing through your body, noticing the sensation through the arms, shoulders, hands. Maybe you still feel some tingling. I know I'm noticing some energetic flow, definitely through the arms and at my hands and fingertips. And just allow yourself to be with any sensations, whatever they are, not trying to figure them out, but just feeling them, enjoying them, savoring them, observing them. Beautiful. So if you have your eyes closed, go ahead and open them. Just take those feet out a little bit wider. I'm just turning my toes outward, but you could also take your feet further out if you wanted to. We're going to close this out and end with 3 nice big breaths with some nice sweeping arm movements. So inhale and bring those hands together. Exhale, bend the knees, bring those hands down. We haven't moved the legs at all. So inhale. Hands together. Exhale. Bend those knees over the toes as you bring those hands down. Spine is neutral. One last time. Inhale. This time, I'm not going to bend my knees, but I'm going to bring those hands to my heart space. And bowing my head down to my own heart, bowing my head to the heart of my practice, bowing my head to all of you that are joining in watching this practice and doing it with me at this time. Namaste. So I hope you enjoyed that short shoulder arm releasing sequence that employed conscious movement. And I look forward to sharing more with you in the near future. And until then, Be well.